You asked and I answered. It's time for another Q&A. Hello, welcome back to Classics with a Quirk, where we talk about luxury items and brands with a touch of silliness. If this is the kind of content you find interesting, please do like this video and subscribe for more of it. Thank you. It's time for another Q&A video. I haven't done one of these in a really long time, and I thought that it would be fun to do one again. So that's what I'm doing. Hooray! That's the topic of this video. Questions that you asked, and I'm going to answer them. I have actually a bunch. A lot of you submitted questions. Some of you submitted like 5. Thank you, Train Girl Megan. So I'm gonna answer them as best as I can and as many as I can in a video that I hope won't run too long, and I guess we'll just get started because I'm excited about this. So I asked for questions both on a YouTube community post and on Instagram, so if you haven't followed me on Instagram, feel free to do so. It's where I post stuff like this and also like things I buy, outfit shots, questions for you, and all that sort of thing. I'll post pictures of my cat if you are interested in that sort of thing as well. So I will link that for you. It's Classics with a Quirk, all one word, just like my name. I have the same branding. So yeah, the first question, what's a bag you'd never use your own money to purchase? So I don't completely know what you mean by like you never use your own, like would I get it as a gift but I wouldn't buy it for myself? Because there are a lot of bags that I wouldn't buy for myself that I would be happy to accept. I just like don't want to spend my own money on it. But I also have never been gifted a bag by anybody. I've only ever bought my bags with my own money. So I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess I'd never purchase or want to own a bag from Dolce & Gabbana. Not only do I not really like a lot of their styles, I mean, their fashion is beautiful, but I don't like the brand for what they've done in the past, especially because the people who own the brand, who still own the brand, are the ones who've done those unfortunate things. I mentioned this in a video I did about 5 brands that I will not buy or I'm not interested in purchasing. So I'll link that video for you if you're interested in watching that. But I think Dolce & Gabbana would be a bag that I never use my own money to purchase, at least at this time, while the people who own it still do. What is the proper restaurant etiquette for resting different types of luxury bags? Where do you put the darn thing? Okay, so it depends on how big the bag is. Like if the bag is like really, really large, I would probably ask for a chair for it. But like I don't usually go to restaurants with like really big bags if I'm going out to eat. I know that I'm going out to eat. I won't take like a really big tote or something. So a bag, if you can't get like a chair, if the bag is small enough, you can always put it in your lap. But I really would recommend getting a bag hook. So I brought one for this purpose. This is a bag hook that I got in Italy on Murano. It's made of Murano glass and I thought it was so cute. It is Flat Panda and it's just this little guy. He's so cute. Oh my gosh, I love him. And he's a bag hook. So he just like unfolds like that. And you basically put this on the table and this goes down and it like supports it and it like holds your bag. And so you can keep it out of the way of servers and yourself and it just like hangs off the table. I mean, if you've got a bag that doesn't have a shoulder strap or a handle, this would be difficult, or if it's got a really long shoulder strap, but I guess you could double up the chain. But yeah, a bag hook, totally recommend. They're not very expensive. You can get them anywhere like on Etsy or on Amazon or something, but get like a fun one and you can just keep it in your bag and then you have it all the time. I think this one's really cute and I'm really happy that I got it. I got Flat Panda. I also got Fat Bee, which I didn't bring for you. Sorry about that. But maybe I'll just throw a picture of Fat Bee. And so that's what I would recommend, a bag hook. They're really useful. Opinion about Christian Louboutin bags. I don't have a huge one. I don't really love a lot of their styles because like Christian Louboutin is just like not a style of bag that I generally gravitate towards. I do think that the Paloma totes are kind of cute, especially because some of them are like black and like basic with just like the little decal, but they're like interesting on the sides. Sophie Showhead has one that she's showcased on her channel a bunch of times, like a Paloma tote. I think those are cute, but for the most part, I've never really gravitated towards most things by Christian Louboutin. The shoes can be beautiful, but I've heard that they're very uncomfortable and I'm not really interested in wearing uncomfortable shoes. Not to mention that he makes like narrow shoes and I've got wide feet, so I've never been able to like wear them anyway. I mean, the leather seems fine if that's what you're interested about, but I haven't like observed them up close because it's just not something that I've ever really cared to observe up close. Sorry. Hello, just found your channel and just getting into bags. I'd like to know how trustworthy is Fashionphile. Where the bags are cheaper than retail, for sure they still aren't cheap. Thanks. So Fashionphile is, I think, one of the top 3 most known and probably most purchased from websites for third-party luxury goods. Like it's like Fashionphile, The RealReal, and Rebag, and I have my own experiences with all 3 of those. In terms of trustworthiness, I think Fashionphile is probably the most trustworthy of all of them. They have expert authenticators. They authenticate in-house. They actually actually like seem to really know their stuff. Like they also they do a lot of work on like Instagram where they show like reels about like their authentication process and like real versus fake like bags, which is really interesting actually. So I think that of all of the retailers, Fashionphile, of those three, Fashionphile is probably the most. They still do make mistakes once in a while, but I think that everybody is going to makes mistakes once in a while. Like nothing is 100% perfect. And if you want to be 100% positively sure that your bag is authentic, you need to buy it from the boutique. Like I have no problems purchasing from Fashionphile. If I'm uncertain about anything, I get it second party, third party authenticated, and I have different places that I use that. Real Authentication is a place that I use if I'm getting something double authenticated. I have a code for $5 off if you want to use that. I'll link that down below in my description box. So if you ever want to like be extra sure, like trust Fashionphile, but then get authentication from another third party, like Real Authentication. So that's just what I would do if you are ever uncertain. But I think that they are a good place to buy from, and they do have some pretty good prices nowadays, but it is certainly true that their prices have gone up, especially as the luxury market has also gone up. Hi, do you have any experience or opinions with MCM bags? So yes and no. I think that they can be very well made. I believe also that MCM still uses 24 karat gold alloy on their hardware for their gold hardware, which is really, really cool. You don't see that in a lot of brands these days. Not that many people are still doing that thing. So that's cool. Their bags do seem to be of excellent quality, very sturdy make, but I don't purchase them just because I personally am not a huge fan of the logo, especially their like basic ones where it's like the brown canvas or leather and then it's like the stamp logo. It's just not something that I care for, so I've never purchased from them. I like some of their ready to wear. I think that they're really cool, and they do some like interesting seasonal pieces and colors, which I like, but it's never been a brand that I've wanted to buy from in terms of what they look like. Although in terms of quality, I think that they do very good quality. Online, we determine proportion of a bag size by entering your height and weight. Would you please share that when modeling bags? So I do. For the most part, I really do. I almost always put in my height or say my height. I sometimes get like excited about showing you something and I forget, but like usually in editing, I'll at least put my height in the description. My weight fluctuates, so I don't know how like super helpful that will be. And also like my size and shape, like my measurements are different from somebody else's measurements who might be the same weight. I'm about 140, 145. At my most muscular, I've gone up to 150, but like I'm also like super flat chested and kind of bottom heavy in terms of my proportions. And like I also have like a slimmer waist in regards to the relationship to my shoulders. So weight is not always super like helpful, as opposed to like you see my body type and you know how tall I am. So yeah, 5'7", and I almost always say that in my videos. So I'm sorry if I've forgotten to, but like mostly I do. Hi, your videos are very informative. Thank you. Do you use a third-party authenticator? If so, can you recommend them? So I just covered that. Sorry about that. I guess I repeat myself. But so I use Real Authentication for a general third-party authenticator. I do trust myself in a lot of cases nowadays, but like if I want a second third-party authentication, I trust Real Authentication. Entropy is an AI-based service that is like getting smarter every day, but you can't really, you have to like go through a company to get an entropy certification authentication. So that's not something that you can like just purchase for yourself, to my knowledge. For Chanel WOC authentication, I will link her down below. She is a foremost Chanel expert, and I trust her especially for modern day pieces. I can for the most part authenticate vintage Chanel myself. I mean, you're asking. So, but if you don't have experience with Chanel WOC authentication, she is the foremost expert on it. Would recommend her. And for Hermes, I would recommend Baba Baby, who is also like an expert in Hermes authentication. So those three places. What are your favorite underrated brands? Okay, so I have a lot of brands that are really on my radar that I really like that I might also not own anything from. Like I think Moina is a really cool, beautiful brand with some excellent pieces. They are handmade, but it not as well known. But I don't own anything from Moina. And I'd say Bulgari too. I think Bulgari makes some beautiful, beautiful bags. Train Girl Megan has a Bulgari bag that I've asked her a bunch of questions about because it is so nice. But I don't own anything from Bulgari either, even though I've gone into this boutique and I've looked at the things and I've touched the leathers and I'm interested in purchasing one, but I just haven't yet. But in terms of underrated brands that I do own, Delvaux, hands down. Delvaux is one of my favorite brands. I want more pieces by them. I think their bags are beautifully crafted. The leather is really, really nice. And I really like, they only do 2 seasons. They do spring, summer, and fall, winter. So they don't do like a lot of new things every single year like some brands do. Like, I think that's good. You know, I think that they really can put all their effort and craftsmanship and time into making just a few like really good, beautiful pieces. Lula LV, who actually asked this question, Lula LV asked me about this. She just recently unboxed a Cool Box mini from Delvaux, which she really enjoyed. She had some pros and cons to talk about it, so I'll link her video for you because it's a good one. It actually made me reconsider getting the Cool Box in any size just because of what I found out about the strap. But I love their Brillant bags. It's one of my favorite styles and shapes. I really want a Brillant mini. In like right now, I'm really interested in the Bloom color from Delvaux. It's such a beautiful pink. It's actually my favorite pink. So I've just been looking at that a lot, longingly. Their Tempet bags are also really beautiful. The Linga, like they just make a lot of beautiful bags, and I really like them, and I think that they're very underrated. They're, you know, a kind of a quiet luxury brand. Not a lot of people are talking about Delvaux, but I'm talking about Delvaux because I like them a lot. Hi, how do you go about telling or not telling your essays that you have a YouTube channel? I'm wondering if it's a good idea to tell them. I would never tell an essay that I have a YouTube channel. I don't tell people that I have a YouTube channel. I mean, I make videos online and I share them with like the online community, and I really enjoy that, but I don't think I want a sales associate to watch me if they don't have to. I think that'd be a little bit strange, especially if I'm like talking about experiences or qualms. I don't think that it would gain me anything telling them that I have a YouTube channel, especially like I'm a small one. I don't think that's really important or like relevant to me wanting to purchase something or not purchase something. And I think that it might be a little off-putting for some people to be like, oh, you have a YouTube channel and you're telling me about it. That's weird, you know. I think it could be a little bit off-putting to have someone, especially someone that you're like in a relationship with, like a sales associate who's like selling you product and you're buying product for them, and sometimes you want them to get you special product or hard to find product, and like, I don't know, are you using the YouTube channel as like leverage to be like, oh, well, I have people I talk to on the internet about these things, so get me that thing I want. I don't know. I think it's fine if you have a YouTube channel, you tell your essay, like especially if you want to share, you're excited about it. But I've never felt like it was an appropriate thing to share in conversation for me personally. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Hi, I enjoyed your videos on restoring bags. I'd love to hear more about how to clean, restore, maintain, and care for your bags to extend their lives. Not a question, but thank you. I appreciate that you like the videos. I plan to make more of them. I have a few now. I have one on Louis Vuitton, canvas and cleaning, Coach, which is not luxury, but like contemporary designer. I do have a video on how to like store and care for your Chanel bags, but I am interested in making more of those videos. It's just sort of like what is most on my radar or time. But if you're interested in care and keeping of luxury bags, especially for a specific brand, like feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I will try to put that on my to make list. Lux Petite, hi Corky, love your channel. When are you coming to Chicago to do brunch and bags with Caleb and I? Also, what is your favorite brunch food and drink? Soon, it would be nice. I'd love to come soon. I'm going to New York, New Jersey in August to visit friends and family, so I'm kind of very busy that month. And in September, October, I'm going to be going to Japan, which I've been looking forward to. I really have been wanting to go back, so I'm really excited about that trip. I'm going for like 13 days, and I'm so pumped. It's been a while since I've gone to Japan. My Japanese is rusty, so I kind of have to get back to that because the October, September is rapidly approaching. But maybe after something like in the November, like fall time. The last time I went was in March, and it was bitterly cold, so I don't want to go in the winter to the Windy City because the wind was biting. But you know, maybe someday soon. I like to. It's just a bit of a drive, is nothing else. But I love to see you in person. It's been fun to talk to you on Instagram, so I'd love to like meet you in person and say hello. My favorite brunch food and drink. Goodness. Well, I like pancakes, but they have to be like a specific kind of pancake. Like Michigan, we have the Original Pancake House, and they make like arguably the best pancakes. So like those. I also like stuffed French toast, but it's something like that I get for a treat. Like also like kind of particular about it. I like omelets. I like hash browns. I like brunch food. I guess that's the point of this. I like most brunch food. So great. I don't like meats though. I'm not a huge fan of like breakfast meats. Like I don't particularly care for like bacon, which might be very controversial to say, but I didn't even like eat bacon until I was like well into my 20s, and then I ate it. I'm like, this is what the fuss is all about? It's just greasy, salty. Which I guess is one of the reasons why there's fuss. I don't know, but I don't really care for it. So that favorite drink, I'm not a huge drinker at all. Like I'm always willing to experiment and try new things, but like I don't generally drink for like fun. So I don't know because I've never had a brunch beverage. But if you want to recommend me a brunch beverage, feel free to do so, and then maybe I will try it. I do like fancy like fruity drinks though. Like if they have like a fancy type of lemonade, I will probably go for that. How did you get started on luxury bags from Luxury and Life in the Middle? Okay, so this is a bit of a convoluted path to get to luxury bags, but I never was into like fashion as a kid. It was not a thing that my parents were into. I have never watched a single episode of Sex and the City. Feel free to disown me from the luxury community, but I was never on my radar. Like I watched Devil Wears Prada when it first came out. I'm like, this is a good movie. I know nothing about the fashion, but it's a good movie. And like now watching it, I know much more about the fashions in the movie, which like makes it kind of almost more fun to watch. But like when it first came out, I had no idea what anything was. I couldn't tell you what a Chanel bag looked like. Like I literally couldn't. So finding my way into luxury bags, I was in my 20s and I was looking for a good day bag to wear for work. And previously, up until that point, I had been using backpacks, like kids' backpacks, like just a backpack, because I needed to carry my laptop with me for writing. And it was before I got on my iPad, so I needed like a big backpack. And I wanted something that just like one day it clicked in my head, like I would like something that looks a little nicer than just like a kid's backpack to carry things with me. And so I started looking into different types of brands and different types of bags. And I bought something from like TJ Maxx, which was more expensive than I had ever purchased. Like it was like $50 or something. And it was like this convertible. I thought it was really cute. It was a vegan bag, so it was a plastic bag. That was before I really knew about that and cared. And it broke in like 6 months. It just got destroyed. It like the handle snapped and like it started to rip, and I didn't appreciate that. Wrote the company, sent me another bag. The same thing happened. Like, okay, fine. So I moved away from those bags, and I was like, okay, what's a durable bag that I could use for a day bag that's handsome? And I ended up finding Coach. And I started doing a lot of research about Coach bags, and then I learned about Coach leathers, and I learned about Coach rehab, and I got really excited about it because I love projects, I guess. And I ended up finding a vintage Coach Prescott brief in this beautiful mahogany. I still have it, and I found it on eBay for like $50. So it was like the same price as the vegan leather bag, but like so much better quality, so much nicer, very heavy, but beautiful, very handsome. And I used that for several years, and I started getting more into Coach. I started learning more about the modern day brand, the histories. At that point I was buying preload bags, like beat up bags, and rehabbing them and having a grand old time. And then I just started like moving from Coach. I started like, what else can I learn about like in terms of leathers? Because that's what I was interested in at the time. And I started finding more out about luxury leathers and the craftsmanship that goes into luxury bags and the behind the scenes of the brands of luxury bags. And I got really interested in that. And so my first foray was actually Chanel, because I was interested in Chanel lambskin, vintage Chanel lambskin, because it was something that was foreign to me. And from there, I was like, what's lambskin? What's caviar? How is caviar made? And so my transition to luxury bags was just like built on wanting to educate myself and like a lot of thorough research that I was doing over the years. And I ended up learning a lot about all these brands. I read interviews. I talked to people who worked there. I've talked to a couple of artisans over the past few years, which has been really cool. I've watched videos. I've read like old articles that I found on like the Wayback Machine, because they don't exist anymore, about like what goes into these brands and these bags and these SLGs, like just the quality of the materials, how they're made. And so I've learned really like a lot. Like I know about like what caviar leather is and how it's made. I know about where Chanel lambskin comes from, where the sheep are from. And it's been fun to learn. And so as I've learned, my love for these things have grown because I know more about them, and that has made me happy and has made me happy to learn them. And then I like to own things that make me happy. And that is the story. That is the long convoluted story of like how I transitioned into luxury bags. It started with a bad plastic bag from TJ Maxx. Can you do a bag collection video? So I could. It's very daunting. I've had quite a few people ask me over the years of my years on YouTube to do a bag collection video, and like every time I look at the amount of work that would go into it, I go, that seems like a lot of work. Like I'd have to get them all out and like talk about them and like show pictures and like maybe do mod shots even. Like I don't think I would, because that seems like extra work. Train girl Megan ended up doing a bag collection video where she divided her bags by like size, which I thought was really cool. And I've seen people do bag collection videos by like brand before. And then Caleb has done a bag collection video where he did like his contemporary bags and he did his luxury bags. So there's ways to break it up, but it just seems like a lot of work. And I will say sometimes, like, this is sort of silly maybe, but like I almost feel like it would be a disappointment to some people to see like what I actually own and like how much I actually own. Because like I have a substantial amount of bags in my opinion. Like I have a decent amount of luxury bags, like more than you need for sure, because I love these things and I love collecting them. And I love like having different leathers and different materials in my collection from different brands. Like I do enjoy that, but I don't have like 50 for somebody who's been into it for a really long time and you know, collecting them for a long time. I mean, I don't have that many. So, I mean, it still would be a long video because it would be a long video. I talk a lot, but it's not like I don't have 15 vintage Chanel bags in a rainbow of colors. I have a few that I've selected over the years, that I've kept over the years, because I've also like sold things over the years too. Some things that I regret selling, I will say. Some things that I have parted ways with, which I'm like, now I'm like, I shouldn't have done that. But at the time, it was the right decision, so I guess I can't regret it too much. It's just like hindsight is 20/20, especially with the prices nowadays. But you know, so I mean, it's like I'm willing to do it. I mean, but it just seems like a lot of work, and also like people would be like disappointed. Describe what is currently your favorite leather. Has laptop ever chewed a favorite luxury item? Okay. Answering that second question first, no, she loves bags and she loves sitting on them or sitting inside of them, which means that I hide all of them. But like I actually have like a decoy bag that like it's an old vintage like Coach. And actually no, it's a fake Coach. So I found it at the thrift store and I told the thrift store owner that it was fake, and I showed them like why it was fake, and they're like, do you just want to take it because we can't sell it? I'm like, okay. So it became Laptop's bag. So it like sits on the floor of the room, and she like just will sit on it while I'm doing something. She's like, that's her like little seat. She has sat on a number of my Coach bags over the years, but like my vintage bags are like hidden in and tucked away. Like they're in my closet, they're in dust bags, like she can't get to them. So she hasn't had like the opportunity to chew on them, which is good. She has sometimes jumped into a tote though, but that's fine. It's funny. And then like if I bring a bag home, like a shopping bag or something, she will immediately sniff at it. She will try to jump into it. The minute it's empty, she will try to jump into it. So that's really funny. But she has never chewed on anything, which I very much appreciate. Oh, also, this is not super relevant because you could still like gum something, but she doesn't have a lot of teeth, like cat parent, like Kitty, but we both have terrible teeth. I have excellent dental hygiene according to my dentist, but like my teeth are bad. It's awful. I grew up without fluoridated water and bleh. But Laptop has had to have a bunch of teeth removed. She's a tortoiseshell and they are prone to having teeth problems. And so she's had like a lot of inflammation, a lot of like decay. And so she's had to have teeth out. And now she has like 8 little tiny teeth in the front, like 1 little fangy. It's kind of cute. I feel like bad, but she like eats her food fine. She like still likes dry food. She'll chomp that up, like she'll just swallow it whole, I guess. But she's a happy kitty. When she gets the teeth out, she gets more energy because like it was, hurting her. So she doesn't have like a lot of opportunity to chew things because she doesn't have anything to chew with. And describe what is your current favorite luxury leather. I have had a love for vintage Chanel lambskin for a really long time. Like since I got into luxury, it was one of the first leathers that I started really learning about. And it was one of the first bags that I bought. I bought a vintage Chanel lambskin bag and I was like sold. It was beautiful. It was durable. I loved the sheen. I loved the patina. Feels so good. It looks so nice. So vintage Chanel lambskin is definitely one of my favorites. I really like box calf. I don't have a lot of experience in different box calves. I have a Delvaux in box calf. I recently got an Hermes in box calf, and I really like the feel of that too. It's a leather that is more prone to scratches, so you have to be a little bit careful with it. but I love the patina it can get, and I love how like smooth it can feel. It's a nice texture. But I think that if I had to like have a first love of favorite leather, it would be vintage Chanel lambskin probably. What's your thought on exotic leathers by Nico Pico Puerto Rico? So I have a couple of different thoughts on exotic leathers. I don't know if you're asking like ethically or if I'm interested in one. Vincent DLT also asked, are any bag and exotic leathers on your wish list? So I'll answer them both at the same time. Vincent comments on like all of my videos. I really appreciate him. I appreciate you. Thank you very much for doing that. I like recognized your picture and your username. So in terms of what I feel about luxury bags and exotic leathers, so there are some bags that I'm like about, like, just from the way, like, I don't like ostrich. I've never thought that ostrich was attractive. It's like the texture of it, the pebble of it, I don't like it. I don't think it's very attractive at all. And in terms of like how ostrich leather comes to be, like, it's not my favorite. In terms of like python and alligator though, like those are pests in certain places in the world, like Florida. In Florida, pythons and alligators are pests in Florida, and they need to be killed for like other wildlife to survive, and for like population for like other preserved wildlife and species. So and a lot of leathers in the industry, like cow leather for instance, all cow leather is a byproduct of the meat industry. Cows are not killed for their hide, they're killed for their meat, and then all of the cow is repurposed and used. So like the hide is then used to make leather bags, which, you know, is waste not, want not, which I like that method of like, if you're going to eat meat, you might as well like use all of the animal, right? So the same thing can be said for alligator and python. When an alligator or a python is killed, it gets, the leather is then, the scales, whatever, is then used to make items, other things. And one of those things is luxury leathers, luxury leather bags. Python, I love the look of python, but I don't really like how it can wear. Like the scales can lift and you have to be really delicate with it. So I don't particularly care for like owning a python. I do love how alligator looks and feels. Alligator and croc are probably my two favorite exotic leathers. How you get alligator for a bag versus how you get croc for a bag are different though. Alligators are already killed to protect other species, and croc has to be harvested. So, you know, you get them different ways, and then the animals are treated differently sometimes, depending on how they're gotten a hold of those items. So I would buy alligator over croc if I was going to be buying an item in it, but I also really like vintage and pre-loved bags. And I don't see a problem with buying a pre-loved bag that already existed, that somebody else already bought, because you're not buying it, like someone else bought it and you're just like giving that bag new life. So I think that that's, if you're talking about the ethics, I think that if you're talking about something like that, like I think that pre-loved fur is fine, because like some of that fur is 30 years old, and if you're using it, it's like better than it going into the dumpster, right? Like I think that's fine. So I have just different opinions depending on what it is and how it is. But in terms of like look and feel, alligator is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful leathers. I really like how it looks on bags, and I would not mind an alligator bag. There was a beautiful one on Fashionphile that Delvaux did that was up for sale. It was like $12,000 and it got marked down to $8,000, and I stared at that bag for weeks. It eventually got sold. I hope the person who bought it is very, very happy, but it was just like not something that I was able to buy at the time, but it is something that I still think about to this day. So yeah, that's my thoughts. And if you have an opinion about that, feel free to share it in the comment down below. If you have an opinion on anything I talk about, like, feel free to let me know. I'd love to have a conversation with you about any of the things I've talked about today. Do you think the Chanel WOC is still worth the price? Where I live, there aren't pre-loved stores. Whether or not something is worth the price is tricky, because like I own a Chanel WOC already. So buying another one, especially like a classic black caviar and gold hardware for like almost $1,000 more than I paid, wouldn't be worth it to me. I already have one. But if you don't have one and you really like it, and you have the money to buy it and you really like it, and you can't get it in any other way, like it might be worth it to you to spend that money to get it. And I think that's fine. I think that there's a lot of criticism that comes from people buying things when they're when they cost more than what they used to cost. Like, oh, you spent $3,000 on that thing, and only a year ago it was $2,500. You're like silly for spending that extra $500. But if that's what the price is nowadays, you don't have a choice if you want to buy it new. So I think that if something is worth it to you, it's worth it. There are some bags that I think aren't worth it to buy new, but for like something like a WOC, you know, it can be a daily bag. It can be like a beautiful evening bag. It has a lot of versatility to it if you can, you know, pare down your essentials. So I think it could be worth it. It could be like a really good all-around bag for you if that's something that you are interested in. How did you get into aerial silk dancing, and how did you get into the world of luxury goods? So I already answered the luxury goods question. How I got into aerial silks, gosh, I don't remember how old I was, but it was easily 10 years ago now. For those of you who don't know, I am a aerial artist as a hobby. I've been doing it for 3 years, and I had to take a break because of the plague, and then I started up again just recently, and I really enjoy it. It's such a beautiful art form. How I got into it though, so I love Cirque du Soleil. I have been interested in Cirque du Soleil since I was a child. My mom used to have VHS tapes of certain performances that I would watch all the time. We Reinvent the Circus was one of my favorite like old-timey classics, and I watched that so many times. So Cirque du Soleil, and I actually started in contortion when I was a kid. I trained improperly, which is not good for you, don't do that, but I was very, very flexible as a kid. I still am very flexible because I've retained a lot of my flexibility, which has helped me in aerial silks because I have a lot of strength and flexibility, and to do a lot of these movements, you need both of those things. So it's really aided me that I've trained for so long in other art forms. And so when I was in college, I had a friend of mine who was like, I just found this place that does like aerial silk. Want to do it with me? Like, I think I might have mentioned that I like Cirque du Soleil or something. And so he's like, want to do it together? I'm like, yeah. And so we went, and I really enjoyed it. And he like had an okay time, and then I stayed and he didn't, which was fine. Like, it was just something that I really, really cared about. Train Go Megan asked like 17 different things, or 5, so I'm gonna just answer them all. Goodness. So what type of thing do you make with your tiny beads? I'm so jealous of your patience. Okay, so I've only talked about this on Instagram like once, but I am a jeweler and a beader. I've been beading since I was 12. I got interested in that, and I have never looked back, and I do bead weaving. And so I have a needle and a thread and teeny tiny little beads, and I make things out of them. And let me get something to show you so you have an idea of what I do. Okay, I'm back. So this is a bookmark that I made a while back, and it's just, it's like a beaded flower. And that was all done, hand woven with a needle and thread. That's like a pearl in the middle, and then these bigger blocky beads as the ribbon of it. And yeah, so I made this up. This is called, this particular weave is called brick stitch, and it looks like bricks, obviously. And I've since 12, so this is just like an example of some of the stuff I make. I really enjoy it. It's like very time-consuming, fiddly work, and honestly, being a crafter, in artisan, whatever, in this kind of capacity has, I think, one of the reasons why I have such appreciation for luxury goods, because I know what kind of work can go into them, especially like, you know, brands like Moina or Hermes or Delvaux, which, like, you know, they're crafted works like made by individual artisans. And I have my own understanding about what goes into making that kind of work. And so I have an appreciation for the work that they do. Favorite styles you love but wouldn't wear because they're just not you. I don't know if you're talking about bags or fashion. I'm going to talk a little bit about fashion, because bags and fashion are the same thing. Bright colors. I love vibrant, bright colors and interesting, eclectic styles. When I was little, I was really into Japanese street fashion. I still am. I love looking at pictures on Instagram and stuff. I would never be comfortable wearing that sort of thing because it's like bright and vibrant and loud and interesting and different. And I really love that stuff. And in general, I really like bright colors, but I have difficulty wearing them. I don't feel comfortable in bright things or loud things. I don't feel comfortable in my body wearing that kind of stuff. I didn't really have like a experimental style phase where I like figured out my style and I figured out what worked well for me. And so even to this day, I'm very uncomfortable with trying to do fashions that are like the fashions I like interesting stuff. I don't feel like I look good even if other people tell me I look good. And I don't know, I really appreciate and I really enjoy looking at like just creative looks. Like Cassie Thorpe does some like really interesting styles. Like she has like a style and she's like honed it over the years, and she just like, she looks so fun, like, and it looks like she has fun with her clothes. And I really like that. Like even you, Train Girl Megan, who asked this question, I really enjoy your style. I think that you have like really fun clothing picks, even if they're like simple, they're like fun, they can be eclectic. You clearly have a style of your own. And I don't really have that yet. So I guess the answer is like most things, but definitely like vibrancy. I love bright and interesting and like unique, and I don't wear that. Do you find yourself attracted to specific houses and then keep your purchases to those houses? I mean, I'm willing to experiment. I love learning about different houses and different histories and different heritages, and it's fun to experiment and branch out. I don't have an unlimited budget though, so if I really know that I like something, like if I have to choose between a new house and like something that I already know I like, sometimes it's safer to buy the thing that you already know you like, you know? But as I continue on with my collection, I think that I'm much more willing to start branching out into other houses. But like, even now, as I said, Delvaux is my favorite brand, and I really, really like their mini Brillant bag in that bloom color. And it's quite an expensive bag to buy new. It's their fall winter season collection, so like I would probably be buying it new if I were to purchase it, which I'm not saying I am, but like it's a bag that I really have been eyeing and looking at and loving. So if I was going to look at that bag and then like a different brand that I've never purchased before, like, you know, Moynat, for instance, which is another brand that I really enjoy. I like some of their bags. I like the Gabrielle's especially. But if I had to choose between Moynat, which is a new brand to me, and Delvaux, which already has things that I like, if I had to pick one or the other, I might stick with Delvaux just because I know I like it, as opposed to Moynat, which would be a different experience to me. If I had a bigger budget, I think that I'd be more interested in like fully experimenting. And I'm not saying no to Moynat ever. Like they might come out with another beautiful color like that I really like in the Gabrielle. And so even if I had to pick between the two, I'd be like, oh, I really want to try that one now. So I'd branch out. But sometimes it's like almost safer to stick with what you already know and love, especially if like these come out in fun colors, or you find a really beautiful pre-loved item, like you already know that you like it, so it's not like as much of a risk to buy it. What do you like about Hermes? I love that they are handmade. I love the history and heritage of the house. I really do enjoy their leathers. I think that they're beautiful. I love how they do color. I love color. I'm not good at color, but I really enjoy color. I love their aftercare service. Like you can send bags to the spa, and the bag can be 50 or 70 years old and they will spa it as long as it's never been touched by anybody but Hermes before. I think that's really cool. And they do have some very interesting like whimsical stuff, and I love their silks. Hermes silks are gorgeous. I went to an Hermes in the Making exhibition last year. I'll link that video for you, and it's because it's so interesting. I mean the content of the video is interesting. I hope the video is okay, but the content's so cool. You see how they do the silk screening, and it's so fascinating, and the detail and workmanship that can go into them, and also the details on the scarves themselves is just so much fun. I love that. I really have an appreciation for their silks and the different patterns and the different details that go into them. And I admit, like, I don't have a lot from the brand. I have scarves, I have silks. I just recently bought my Kelly, but I don't have a lot from them. I've been able to experience their leathers over the years. Like I've gone to enough boutiques, I've gone to enough exhibitions, I've talked to enough artisans over the years that I've had like the pleasure of being able to meet and discuss things with. but I don't own a lot by them, which I'd like to change. But you know, it's sort of like the same question of like, what do you pick to get, and like, what do you use your funds for? I only buy within my own means and my budget, so sometimes I'm limited in what I can buy, and that's okay. How do you like your Kelly? I really enjoy it. It's so much fun to have it. It's so cool. I love touching it. It's beautiful. The clasp is fiddly, but I knew it would be fiddly. I'm starting to get the hang of it. I haven't worn it out yet. I've just been playing with it at my house, but I really enjoy it. I'm glad that I made the purchase. I'm glad that I took the chance. I took the risk of what it was going to be. Very pleasantly surprised, as I have said, and I really enjoy it. And it's nice to have it to kind of know up close what the quality and workmanship is in something that I own and get to touch multiple times and like really see up close and observe. That's pretty cool. I like craftsmanship. I love looking at the stitches. They're so tight. They're so good. Like, they're a little bit like, not uneven, but like some of the stitches are like different widths than others. Like, you can tell that it's a handmade bag because it's not impeccably machine stitched perfect, which I think is really cool. I think that's really neat. And I'm interested in trying the spa service. I do plan to send the bag into spa probably in the winter, so it'll only be gone in the winter when I'm like dealing with ice and snow anyway, so I probably wouldn't be wearing it out. And I'm interested to see how that goes. So I will let you know if I'm still doing YouTube by that point. And finally, the last question from Train Girl Megan is, when and how did you get into martial arts? So, well, if you don't know, I am a martial artist. I'm a black belt in 2 disciplines. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo Hanmukwan style, and I'm a black belt in a mixed martial arts style, which is a combination of Taekwondo, Hapkido, and Tang Soo Do. And I've been doing martial arts for, it was 20 years 2 years ago, so like 22 or 23 years at this point. That's a long time to be doing something. Goodness, that's a long time to be doing something, but I really enjoy it. I got started when I was 10. My parents started me in Krav Maga as like sort of like an after school, like not after school because it was a Sunday program, but they got me started in Krav Maga as like, do something with your energy, please, and have athleticism. I'm like, cool, great. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I did Krav Maga for 2 years. I still remember a lot from it. Like I remember most of what I've learned over the years in terms of like techniques and movements, because there's a lot of crossover throughout the different years. And then after Krav Maga, they started me at 12 in a Taekwondo after school program. And Taekwondo is, I think, my favorite martial art of all the ones I've done. It is just, it's like 80-20 leg. You're flexible, you're kicking, in Taekwondo is also one of the only martial arts that is internationally regulated, depending on what style you're learning. So if you have a black belt in Taekwondo that's affiliated with the Kukkiwon school in South Korea and the World Taekwondo Federation, then you are that rank anywhere in the world. Like, you can walk into any dojang anywhere in the world and be like whatever your rank is, which is really cool. And also Taekwondo is one of the only martial arts that you can compete in the Olympics at, because it is a internationally recognized sport. So that's also really cool. And also in Taekwondo, most of your points are headshots, so like it's 80-20 leg. There's a lot of kicking because like you're tapping up here to actually get points in sparring. So that's just a fun little fact. I could talk about martial arts for a really long time because it's something I'm very passionate about, obviously. I used to be a martial arts instructor, actually. I worked in a school. That's how I got my black belt in the mixed martial art. I was a teacher and instructor, and I earned my black belt in that style. I studied Taekwondo. We moved when I was a teenager, so I had to leave my old school behind. And then I studied karate when I moved to Michigan in high school. I didn't like karate as much. I find karate kind of boring. Sorry if you are a fan of karate. That's just not my thing. It's a little bit more static to me, and so it's just not as interesting. I hope that's okay to say. Don't mind. Like, it's a luxury channel. Who's gonna care about karate versus Taekwondo? But like in the martial arts world, you've got the karate people who are like Taekwondo, and then you've got the Taekwondo people who are like karate, and you've got the Kung Fu people who are just like over there being cool. I did study Kung Fu briefly. I went to China back in 2010 and studied Kung Fu on a literal mountaintop in Chufu for like a month. It was amazing. Super cold. Don't do northern China in February if you can help it, but like it was such a cool experience. I lived my Kung Fu Panda life, like hands down one of the coolest things about me, probably. Like, I studied Kung Fu in China. That's pretty neat. Like, but I did that, and I also studied capoeira for 3-ish years. Capoeira is a Brazilian martial art. It's kind of like the art of like dance fighting. It was a martial art that was invented by slaves in Brazil because they had their hands like tied, so they learned like a martial art that was like dancing, so like they danced for exercise and they didn't look like they were like learning how to fight basically. And so it's a lot of like kicks and flips and like a lot of leg movements, but also like down low to the ground. And it's also one of the only martial arts where your ready position is a moving position, like you're kind of bounding the whole time, whereas in other martial arts you're like standing still when you're like getting ready to do a kick or throw a punch or something. Unless you're sparring, you're always moving when you're sparring. But like your ready position in capoeira is like you're moving back and forth and side to side. And it's just like a lot of cardio with capoeira. I never got really into the flips. I've done some like handstands and stuff, but I was never like airborne, which I wish I had learned airborne skills when I was younger, because now I'm sort of scared of them. But you know, it's cool. I'd take capoeira again. It's just that I was in a school and the school closed down, and then pandemic, and then like I just never got back into it. I'm not actually currently affiliated with any martial arts school. I really want to find another taekwondo school, but I've had not great experiences in some of them, unfortunately, and I really want to study in a school that's Kuki 1 certified, like with the World Taekwondo Federation, because I mean, I would like to be able to compete properly. So, you know, it's just something. But anyway, I've talked about martial arts for a really long time. My goodness, sorry about that. If you want to know more about it, feel free to let me know. I also occasionally do shorts where I tell you like little self-defense techniques. I do those once in a while. I still am interested in doing them. I used to teach self-defense to like college schools and Girl Scout troops and stuff like that. It's very interesting to know self-defense. I would suggest everybody study some sort of self-defense if you can, and especially if you're like in the luxury community and you're carrying expensive things and you might potentially be a target. Like, learn how to defend yourself. It's hope for the, you know, plan for the worst, hope for the best sort of thing. That martial arts. Clearly I'm passionate about that. So yeah. And finally, what inspired you to start creating YouTube videos? Love your content, by Mainline Bag Lover. Thank you very much. I'm glad that you enjoy my content. It's pretty cool to be in YouTube. I will have been doing YouTube for 3 years come August 2020. So probably by the time this video comes out, it'll be my 3rd year anniversary, which is wild. And how I started doing YouTube. So it's actually kind of funny. I have always, not always, because YouTube hasn't always been around, but I have wanted to start a YouTube channel for like years and years and years. I got into YouTube when I was like in high school, back when YouTube was like very like a small thing that people like did vlogs on, and there were people that I watched travel videos. I watched travel videos and travel vlogging. That's actually how I started like cultivating more of a love for different cultures, and like Japan and France and Italy, all that sort of thing. It's like I was watching travel vlogs like back in 2015 or something. And so I always thought that it was really fun, and I love performative things. I really enjoy that. And so I'd always like, it would be fun to start a YouTube channel, but I always like, what do I make videos about? And actually several years ago, before I started this channel, I started another channel that I made like 12 videos for, and then I was like, forget it, and I deleted them all, and I got rid of that channel, but I never went anywhere. But then one day, I sort of been falling into luxury YouTube. I started watching luxury YouTube content in like kind of 2019-ish, actually like right before, you know, the plague happened, and like there weren't travel vlogs anymore because nobody was going anywhere or doing anything. And I'm like, you know what else I want to learn about? I was watching like craftsmen on YouTube, but I hadn't like watched like bag reviews, because I was like, I know what it is, sort of thing. But as I was like interested in like learning more about different brands and different bags and like comparisons and looking to like expand what I was purchasing, but like I couldn't go anywhere. I had to like look at online pre-loved places because like you couldn't go into any stores. I started like learning more about like the luxury YouTube community and that luxury YouTube space. And one day I had purchased something. I think it might have been an SLG from Louis Vuitton. No, it was a Chanel bag or something. And the video was really old and bad, so I actually think I privated it. But it was a vintage Chanel bag, and I had not seen an unboxing on YouTube about it, so I did one, and it was very old and bad, so it's not there anymore. But I enjoyed it, and I got like 500 views on it, which like no one, it was a baby channel, it was one video, and that was really, really cool to have like people actually watch it and like get some feedback, and some people commented, and that was really neat. And I really enjoyed that. And I enjoyed like, wait, there's a community out there. I can like talk to people about this thing that is just like, I thought it was just, I didn't think it was just me, but I had no other people to talk about it with. And I started making other videos. I started making like educational content. Like I made a video, one of my very first videos was like how to remove odor from like smelly bags. And that is one of my most watched videos, and I can't do anything about that. I can't take it down because it's one of my most watched videos and it still gets views, but it's like, it's not good. It's old and I don't know how to like talk on camera yet. And so it's not great, but the content itself is like helpful or useful. People have talked to me about like how they've used it to get rid of odor, and I'm like, cool, great, that was the point. But I wish that the video was better and the quality was better. I can't do anything about that now. But yeah, so I just like, I enjoyed the community, and I enjoyed sharing kind of what I had learned over the years with other people for kind of the first time, and talking to all of you and like gaining friends. I made some really good friends from YouTube, and I really enjoyed that. And that's kind of one of the reasons why I've stuck with it for so long. I have taken some hiatuses here and there, and I haven't like been as like productive. And I've even made a couple of videos about like how I've been frustrated a little bit with the growth of my channel. But even though I'm not like growing as much as it would be nice to, not because I want, again, like a huge following. Like I don't want YouTube to be like, I don't know, my job, because that seems like a lot of pressure. But it would be nice for it to be like bigger, just because I enjoy like kind of speaking to an audience, if that makes any sense. Like if you've never been to theater, like you might not understand that, but like I've been into theater, I've done voice acting, I used to do radio spots, fun fact about me, and I used to do musical theater. And I love performing for people. I love like having an audience, and I like, you know, the energy that you get when people clap, or in YouTube, I love the energy that you get when people like a video or comment on a video. So it sort of like feeds into my enthusiasm. So the more audience I get, the more like claps I receive, and like it's fun. Like you get like a feedback loop of like pleasure from doing this thing that you enjoy. So that's a little bit of a convoluted way to say how I got into it and why I do it. But yeah, I wanted to actually address, like, there are some people who commented on that other video I made about like my channel dying, essentially. It was like relevant to the topic that was going around about luxury YouTube dying. And I had some people going like, why are you mad that you're getting less views if you're doing it for fun? And I think that's kind of why. It's because if you are a performative person, it's just more fun to perform for a bigger audience. And like, I do it for the applause, like not like in the accolade of like people thinking I'm so great, but it's fun to get like applause. I write, you know, it's fun to get reviews on my books. It's not fun to get the unpleasant reviews on my books. So sometimes I'm only reading the 4 or 5 star reviews, but like it's fun to get feedback for your work. And that's what I really enjoy about YouTube, and why I continue to do it, and I on top of the community. And that is all the questions, and I've been filming for an hour, so this will be an interesting thing to edit, but I hope that it was enjoyable for you. I hope that you enjoyed. Again, if you have any comments about anything that I've said today, or have any further follow-up questions, I do enjoy this community, and this was fun, even though it was really, really long. If you sat through this entire thing, like, I don't know, leave an emoji of like, what should we talk about today? Leave an emoji of an alligator, because like, wow, this was at least an hour of footage that I am editing down. But yeah, if you watch this whole thing, leave an emoji of an alligator, because I'd love to know if you did. I'd love to know if you did. If you like this video, please give it a like. It super duper helps the algorithm, and subscribe for more content that helps the algorithm even more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.